Welcome back to Music Theory Logic. Andrew here. Today is Making It From Scratch, number 22. If I sound a little different, that's because I have, I'm almost have beaten a cold. It's my first cold since this whole pandemic craziness. And thankfully, it's not COVID. It's not the end of the world. Let's go ahead into the Logic session. So yeah, number 22. It's pretty crazy how time flies. This one, like some of the in the past, I have some samples loaded. I've got a kick. I've got a snare. I've got a cymbal pattern, which we're going to chop up and sample in interesting ways. Let's go ahead and create kind of an arpeggio pattern. So up here. So the song I was listening to before doing this was Dua Lipa by Jack Harlow, and that song really reminds me of Black and Yellow. Wiz Khalifa hit for many years ago. It is a different arpeggio, but it's similar in the sense that it's just got that arpeggio. So I tried to keep this similar to the tempo of Harlow's track. I am at 81 beats per minute, and at that speed, we're going to do a standard backbeat. So. Let's take that and let's actually go to 16th notes. So this is a D minor chord. Make sure I've got that in time. So we could literally just loop that. That's kind of cool. So that note isn't in the key of D minor. That's called a leading tone, a raised 7th scale degree, and basically makes this harmonic minor. So. All right, let's just put some drums underneath that. So we got our cymbals. Now, if you have my music theory text, always linked below, I talk about this standard backbeat. Perhaps you've heard that from another channel or instructor. But basically, standard, the simplest snare pattern is going to be on beats 2 and 4. And halftime is referred to as half as many. That's on beat 3. So let's hear that. Add some other kicks. Cool. We could kind of vary up the pattern every other measure. You could probably tell that was not in time, so let's put these in the grid. Alright, so I'm going to show you a little trick. This is kind of fun for doing hip-hop snare rolls. I'm going to open up Logic's sampler, the EXS24, in stereo mode. I'm going to hit edit. I'm going to load in the snare that we have. Pitch, it's at C3. I'm going to change that to C1. That means that this C1 is going to trigger the sample that we have, which means if I go up here, we can play something that runs up. So let's save this, make it from scratch, 22 snare. That'll work for us, and then open up some MIDI. Go with 30-second notes. That'll work. Probably gonna turn that down in the mix. All right, so this instrument right here is not gonna work for us for fun. Let's build a sound. So I'll take Serum. I've done this kind of thing a lot. Let's take some sort of basic shapes. Cool, that'll work. And then we're gonna use LFO1 under envelope mode, kind of shape the decay. Volume. Let's take dimension expander, do that on my subtle bit of distortion, and then reverb. I'm gonna do a second one. I'm gonna go on a quarter note, tie that to reverb mix. That's simple. All right, that'll work for now. Let's get to programming in 808. I'm gonna pull up the same sampler that I had. If you don't know how to use this thing, I've done a bunch of breakout videos on this. If you have any additional questions, I'm always happy to answer that. If you want me to elaborate on anything I'm doing, let me know in the comments, and I will follow back up with a future video. So let's use 808.2. Now, one important thing with this is to know where the original sample is. So the original sample is a D sharp number 1, or in the key of D. So that means we're going to want to use probably that note. All right, now the simplest way of thinking about like where should my 808s be, typically in this style they're doubling up with the kick drum with the additional ability to do fills. So, and we're gonna do that. So if I just take like the root note, so take a D, we could literally just, again, double up the rhythms we did on the kick drum. We can vary it from there, but that's a pretty good starting point. Like, I think that works. a lot of times. So we've got those swung ones at the end. Is that right? We need one here too. Cool. If I take that and extend it out. Cool, and then let's play with that sound a little bit. Let's compress it, classic VCA. All right, we are super close. Let's add an instrument. Let's use Isotope's Iris. I really love this instrument for pads. If you were to get like one synth outside of like what comes with Ableton or Logic, I would probably start with Serum. But past that, there's so many options. But I really like the Isotope stuff. So let's grab this. Let's skip that. Let's go to a pad. Nice garden. Let's see what that sounds like. Now, with my pad, I'm going to turn it way down, and we're going to be playing basically the chords. So we were doing an arpeggio. Arpeggio, again, is a fancy word for a chord broken up. So the and right here we could go to that second chord. It's an A major. Now, Harlow's track does not do this, but let's make it kind of our own style. I'm going to do some two chords here. So let's go to the relative major. So F major to the E major. Start those on an upbeat. Cool. So very soft, like not super loud. All right, get that in time. Cool. So the track I'm thinking of, that Dua Lipa, has 16 measure bars, and then on the hook, it does something really interesting. It goes to the same pattern that we had before, only we get a new instrument, a keyboard type instrument, just playing a chord on the downbeat. So we could borrow the MIDI we use from our pad, use a cool key instrument from Isotope. So something like, not cave piano. Let's see here. Low finances. Let's hear what that's. And that song just does it on a shorter note. You can extend it. All right, let's change this final progression. So let's do our 1 chord. We change our quarter notes. 1, 6, 4. Keep it really simple. To the 5, A major, I think that's cool. Let's change our 808 to follow that final line. So right here we're gonna go D, B flat, G, C sharp. Cool. Now I think it sounds cool, but if you want to get a little bit more creative with your sampling, you can take this stuff and you could like chop this to a half note. You could repeat that pattern, add some variation. Don't forget to add fades so you don't get that popping sound. That kind of works since there's less notes happening in the beginning. And again, every little bit of variation we add to a track helps a lot. Now, let's hear this from the beginning. We might want to make these sections half the distance. So here we go. Yeah, so anytime I'm making beats at like this slow of a tempo, sometimes our structures are cut in half. Kind of makes it feel like it's 160, which makes it feel somewhat modern. So let's cut our hook in half, make it 4. We're going to make this first 4 an intro, but then let's take this section and loop it out. I could have grabbed the hook at that time too. All right, now to give it a little bit of movement at the beginning. We could take that layer, bounce it in place. It's going to take that MIDI that I highlighted and it's going to turn it into an audio file. A little bit easier than writing a filter on 2 separate lines. So then I'm going to use this EQ, turn on the high shelf, go into automation, go to the high cut, filter. Let's turn that down. Make sure I'm not clipping too much for you. I could play around with that more, but then again, we could structure this out, give our potential artist many verses to spit over. All right. So I hope you found this helpful. If you find this stuff cool, you would really help me out a lot by subscribing to the channel. Smash the like button. Every little bit, comments, even if you want to tell me this looks terrible or this sounds terrible, that is fine. I embrace the hate because ultimately it helps me with the algorithm. I don't think it really cares whether it's positive or negative engagement. And for those of you that get insecure when people say negative things on social media, just kind of remember that. It doesn't really matter what other people think. Beats I've had that other people hated, I've made a bunch of money on, and beats I made that I thought were terrible and down on myself a couple years later showed up in Love and Hip Hop. So it's like, you know, how you feel about a song doesn't necessarily indicate the reality there. So yeah, we arranged some drums. We wrote an 808 line. We did a snare drum roll fill. We wrote a hook with a new instrument. We did a pad and a pretty simple arpeggio. I will finish this out playing this beat from the beginning. And once again, help me out, subscribe to the channel, and go check out my other social media. I'm constantly posting different stuff on different platforms. So here it is. Here's a Dua Lipa, a la Jack Harlow type beat, or Black and Yellow, Wiz Khalifa. So let's hear that. Oh, and let's turn our metronome off. stop it there because, again, all of that is looping. Don't forget to Command S if you're on an Apple, or Control S, I think, on Windows, but don't forget to save your files. So once again, my name is Andrew. This channel is Music Theory Logic. If you're curious about what music I make outside of doing videos for the channel, I link to a lot of my stuff below. I also put stuff on my social media, so check that out. I'm at drusounds on most platforms. Thank you for hanging out. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Go make some beats, and don't forget about the little guys when you're winning those Grammys. Talk to you soon.